Hi! Welcome back to another episode of reacting to my romance novel episode series thing. I haven't done this for a couple months, and so I thought I would continue because I feel like we should finish this. We started it, we should finish it. And for those of you who don't like this, you know what? Put this video on mute. I actually curled my hair and put on makeup for this video, so you can just look at me and like play some different music if you want. I don't care. I actually felt like doing my hair, and I have never worn pink lipstick before. Now that my hair's lighter, I thought I would try it. I don't know if I like it yet. You tell me. Does it look bad? I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna start where I left off in the last episode. She climbed into bed and laid her head on the pillow. Things were definitely different, but they felt just like old times. This was the strangest day ever. It was a good day, but strange. It was also difficult to sleep more than a few hours with someone who was quite insatiable, it seemed. Claire woke up to the smell of breakfast cooking. It smelled like pancakes, which were her favorite. It was also strange to smell cooking in her house since she was so terrible at it. She almost forgot that David had spent the night, but then she remembered yesterday and smiled. She walked out into the kitchen, feeling the cold floor on her feet, and saw David in front of the stove making her favorite food. Now, if you say there are blueberries in those pancakes, I might give you a second dose of yesterday. Peering into the pan, she, however, didn't see any blueberries at all. No blueberries? She frowned. Nope, I decided to make my chocolate and peanut butter pancakes for you. A hug crushed his ribs as the tiny figure moved aside to stand nearby, waiting for her breakfast. I still remember the first time you tried out the recipe. You called for me to come over and taste it. It sounded good, but sometimes the recipes fool you, you know? Well, I remember eating them, and they were so delicious that the second you finished, well, why am I bothering telling you? You probably don't even remember. David's head whipped around. How could I forget? That was the best breakfast I've ever made. You tasted so sweet from the pancakes, and you were wearing that sexy red top. You remember that top? That was my favorite top, and you ripped it. Sorry, but it wouldn't come off fast enough, so I turned it into a stylish vest. They both laughed, reminiscing, but stopped remembering that they were no longer together, even after yesterday. They ate their breakfasts in silence, listening to the chinks of their forks. When they were finished, David stood up. I'd really better go this time. I leave in 2 days. Claire nodded, and it was much easier to say goodbye this time. She got up and hugged him, walking him to the door. She watched him drive away, wondering if she would see him again before he left for another 2 months. It was the day he was supposed to leave. She hadn't called him, seen him, or emailed him. It wasn't as though she didn't want to, she just figured that she shouldn't until now. He couldn't leave without a proper goodbye from her. She didn't know what to expect, but she was going to try anyway. She dialed his number and took a breath. She heard it ring. Hey, Claire. Hi, so you're leaving today, right? Yeah, at 1700 hours. Is everything all right? No, nothing is all right, she thought. How could he possibly think that? Yeah, it just seems weird not to say goodbye, what with you leaving and all. Well, I guess this is goodbye then. Wait. What? Don't you want to say goodbye in person, I mean? I suppose, but I'm not sure it'd be the best thing to do. I want to say goodbye, David. Alright. Alright. I'll swing by on my way to the airport. See you then. Claire wasn't sure at all what made her call him and ask to see him. She shouldn't love him anymore, but here she was on her knees begging to be around him. More importantly, what was she going to wear? David sighed and he turned the engine off. I shouldn't be here. I feel she deserves a chance to say goodbye in person. He locked the car and walked up the driveway. Her front door opened to a spectacular sight. Claire was wearing a short red dress that accentuated her every curve. The color was so rich that he didn't even notice that his mouth had fallen open. "Hey, stranger." "Claire, you look..." The look he gave her was all she needed. She wanted him to miss her desperately, and this seemed to be working. She opened the door wider to let him pass by. She had put on his favorite perfume that she wore on special occasions, and she sensed that he smelled her as he came in. His hesitation was exhilarating. He walked in the front door, afraid to touch her in any way because if he started, he was afraid he might not be able to stop. Plus, he had a plane to catch. Passing her by, he smelled her sweet-smelling perfume she wore occasionally that he simply adored. The perfume made it so much harder for him, in more ways than one. "Well, I'm here, Claire. Remember, I have a plane I need to board." Secretly, she wished he'd board her. Ow. "I'll miss you, David. I really will. As friends, if you want. Either way, it hurts when you leave. I just needed to tell you that. Goodbye." "I read your letter." "Oh." She was taken aback because she hadn't thought about it, and frankly, she didn't think he'd actually get around to reading it. "Well, any comments?" "Just the one." He walked up to her and kissed her lightly. She froze, taking it all in. He broke away and walked out the door. She watched him drive away for the second time, but this time, she waved and smiled. She meant something after all. She wasn't sure who was calling until she heard his voice. "Hey, sweetheart." David? He had called every night these past few weeks, causing the worst mixed feelings to date. He talked about missing her, and that with all the free time this time around, he thought about her a lot. He said he called because she was the only one who picked up at night, but she thought otherwise. While most of it was casual, many times it was drawn to their relationship, and being lonely, it wound up describing what he'd hoped to do to her when he returned home at Christmas. Other times, he mentioned that because they saw each other on several occasions after they broke up, that it was as if they never broke up. This hurt her because they were broken up and would never be anything more than the occasional days spent together. He also said that he loved her. He started saying it before he got off the phone, and she returned it hesitantly. It felt strange on her lips. It was 10 days before he was to return home that he stopped calling. She hadn't heard anything but knew the day he was coming in. She wondered about whether she would wait to call or if he was going to, but he did sound like he wanted to see her on the phone. It might be that he only wanted to see her for one reason alone, but any reason is better than nothing these days. It was the holidays and the festivities were in full swing. Her Christmas lights were up, the tree stood near the kitchen, and holiday music played throughout the house. It had now been a year since the day they broke up. Claire stared into the fire, remembering the odd day as if it were yesterday. They hadn't spoken in a long time. She didn't count the phone calls where he ignored her or didn't call her back. His love kept ebbing away as if he felt that since they had been together so long that he wasn't expected to propose. She tried to make him realize that she didn't want to be getting married anytime soon. The idea of being tied down seemed to frighten him. The knock on her door came in good time. She had decided that if he was going to continue to treat her like this for no good reason, there was no good reason to stay with him. She answered the door to David, avoiding her eyes. He apparently had drawn the same conclusion, she noted. "Can I talk to you, Claire?" "You're doing it. I've been thinking, and I'm not sure we should be together anymore." He looked at her scared, but seeing her resolved face unsteadied him. "You aren't upset?" "No. Why would I be? I've been planning on saying the same thing to you." David had once tried to break it off a few months earlier for the same reasons, but seeing her in so much pain scared him and made him love her once more. But the lack of tears saddened him to think that maybe she didn't love him anymore after all this time. How wrong he'd later turn out to be. "Are you sure you're okay?" "Of course I'm okay, David, because you've been acting like a jackass for the past 2 months. I'm definitely okay with it." But no matter how solid she seemed, she wasn't. She didn't want to leave him, but she seemed to have no other choice. He simply didn't want her anymore. He decided to stop trying. To hide her shame, she forcibly laughed. "It's too bad because I've gotten some new lingerie and you don't get to see it." It's a pity because I'm even wearing it now. Let me see. I'll let you know if it's good or not. Claire hesitated. She probably shouldn't, but she knew it would drive him insane. And she wanted him to suffer as she had for the past 2 months. See? Pulling up her shirt, she revealed her crimson lacy bra, which hardly supported her at all, leaving David speechless. After a few seconds, she dropped her shirt back down and stared at the hungry look in David's face. What? Now that we're broken up, I've never wanted you more. She fell on her back as he pounced onto her lips with his own, leaving Claire bewildered. Considering she wouldn't be kissing anyone for a while, she kissed back until he pulled away. She could tell that he wanted more than to kiss her now, but his head was getting in the way. Are you still sure about your decision, Dave? He left soon after with nothing more than their failed relationship behind him. The holidays seemed completely dim that year. Now 1 year since they had broken up, the Christmas tree seemed to only emit a red light, as if for David. The gifts beneath the tree seemed unsatisfactory compared to company, and every day grew longer as the time before he returned shortened. Decorating the house seems useless when you're the only one to enjoy it, Claire thought dejectedly as she hung the wreath on the door and the mistletoe to the light fixture outside. It wasn't going to snow this year, she figured, since it had been in the upper 60s that day. She dreamed of a white Christmas, but she dreamed for many things ending up empty-handed. A car drove by, making her look up. Of course it's not him. Why do I keep looking for him? He's not coming. I just need to forget about him, she thought angrily at herself. Why am I still waiting for him? David saw her walk inside and shut the door as he pulled up. She didn't see him, he supposed. He sat in the car for a few minutes, thinking about why he was there and whether he should knock on that old wooden door. He saw the doormat that read, "Welcome," but was afraid that it might have been lying. It had been 2 months, and all of his free time was set on her. Her soft hair, her brown eyes, her quivering lips, all the way down to her feet. Even though she hated them, he thought of them. He loved everything about her, and now he realized what the last 2 months must have been, with their sudden relapse and another 2 months alone. Although he went through the same thing, he couldn't imagine what that must have felt like, considering he, for the most part, was distracted by the army. He saw the Christmas lights were up. 2 years ago, he had hung them for her because seeing her on the ladder scared him out of his wits. She wasn't the most graceful person on 2 feet, but when she wanted to be, she had poise. She had once been a dancer, and on several occasions he had benefited from her teachings, but not always in the most traditional ways. Through the front window, he saw the tree twinkling dimly, but not with the same warmth as the last time they had decorated it together. The memories of their time together constantly ran through his mind, no matter how hard he tried to brush them aside. Why couldn't he just forget her? Anyway, that's where I'm going to stop today, and it looks like we have about 2 episodes left, so it's getting kind of exciting because I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm going to find out with you guys. Yeah, so that wasn't as embarrassing as last episode, but you know, shit happens. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you like this video. Otherwise, I will see you next week.